changing it to not for made for adults?
Yeah.
Eh.
Hi. Oh, you saw your mug? I didn't touch it. Then I was gonna message you to tell you that it was here, but then I forgot it was up till this morning when I clicked it.
Hold on, Mom. I'm gonna make sure that we can actually hear your. Hey, Mom, go to a YouTube video real quick.
What?
Or like, do something that would make sound, and then we gotta make sure they actually can hear what's happening in the meeting.
Okay. All right. This is all. We're just gonna be having talking. So, and I will be pinning the. I'll be pinning the speaker.
Can someone talk?
Oh, Linda, can you speak?
Or somebody just make noise.
Okay.
Okay, so you gotta change your output device.
So I have to change my output. Okay. So.
Do you need help with that?
What am I?
Okay, the audio settings.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna go to speaker. You're gonna go to the drop-down menu.
Okay.
Yep. And then try the 6.5S.
Okay.
Okay, now do just test speaker.
Okay.
And then I should be getting. Alright,
Okay.
they should be hearing it on the live stream.
Are you hearing? Oh, is everybody hearing
On the Zoom and
on the
on live
Zoom
stream.
meeting?
Kind of garbled.
Say what?
No, one.
All right.
Alright, so if everybody can hear on the Zoom, then we should be fine. Can hear you in background.
Okay. So you can hear everything. Okay. All right. Okay. And Orpha, are you still with us? Yeah. Oh. All right. Orpha's still here.
Alright, then we should be good.
Okay. Shalom. We'll see you in a little bit. Paul's gonna run home and join us on his computer on Zoom as well.
I'd like to use the computer.
Look at, we did that so fast that it's only 10:33. So let's have some coffee hour until everybody, we have to wait till 10:45, just to get started. So how's everybody doing this week?
Good. Okay.
All right,
Then we'll try it.
let's see here.
Okay? You can stay here. Can't see you, everybody.
I'll share a fun update and a little advertisement for my father-in-law's 65th birthday and retirement. Certainly we couldn't throw the party that we might have wanted to this past weekend, but we did get some dinner, takeout, and some balloons and little fun things like that. And then I asked my mother-in-law, what kind of dessert does he like? And she just said one word, cheesecake. And and I said, okay. So I went to Google, and lo and behold, within 15-minute driving distance of everywhere that I've lived so far in the Twin Cities, Muddy Paws is a cheesecake-specific bakery, and I have never been there. And I was just so overjoyed to find it, and then it was delicious, and he loved it. So that was really fun to still do a few special things, and now I know where I will fulfill my cheesecake cravings from here on out.
That's awesome. only keeping the participant window open until everybody's here, and then we'll have a bigger view on the screen. On the live stream. On the live stream, because I know there's a couple people that are joining us on YouTube. Who else has fun stuff?
Well, I'm gonna say, we're talking about yucky things. My sisters asked me what I wanted for my birthday cake, and I suggested that we support the tenant at Springhouse, and that we get the meringue tort. And Carrie decided, well, if we're supporting the tenant at Springhouse, we might as well get 2 desserts. So I can vouch that both the meringue tort and the pear tort are amazing. My sister Amy tasted 1 bite of the pear tort, best thing she tasted in years.
Really? I know that they always.
Really cool that you connected with Quinn. That's a really thoughtful idea.
And a yummy one.
Yes, most importantly.
I know it always smells very good. All right. Anyone else have anything going on? My son started basketball, Jack, which is the first outing sort of thing that has happened. And it's interesting. I mean, obviously at practices it's just, the boys and 1 adult, but they had their first game yesterday, and it's such a different world in a socially distanced gym, because only 1 person is allowed per player. So either mom or dad or brother, someone can come, and everybody's spread out, and they're doing a really good job of it, but it was just very interesting. Not a lot of cheering. Everybody's masked. It's just very different, but nonetheless wonderful, I have to say. Just a little taste of something normal was very, very good.
We were talking about, is this our new normal, and how do we go forward with things? Because Renaissance festivals are looking to have festivals this year, and they're already contacting performers. And we're sitting here as dancers who teach people how to dance going, there's 3 different variants that are so much easier to catch. How is this a good idea?
Right.
And we were talking about, this might be the new normal. We just have to figure out how to go on with life with the possibility of getting a deadly disease and still do things. So,
well, and I think we've been talking a lot about vaccines, and vaccines aren't a miracle to get us all back to normal, but they are in a certain sense. If you have something that even doesn't keep you from getting the virus, but 85%, if it keeps you from getting hospital sick, if you just get, that's life-changing as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward. I was suspect of basketball, but it's a small program. There's only a few teams, and so it's very, you're right. I don't know, how do we do things? The state fair. I don't see that happening. That's just not. Now, Dr. Fauci, who I do listen to a lot, said that a football stadium in September is probably a good goal. I don't know how many people will go to a football stadium in September, but so it'll be very interesting to see. Anybody else have fun things to report? Or not fun things? Maybe they're not fun things. I don't know. Is that me?
No, it's on the Zoom.
Oh.
I painted a dresser last night. I got a weird bee in my bonnet. I mean, this was like years ago now that I went into an antique store and saw this teal dresser that had all different handles on it and was like, oh, I love the look of this. And it was $400. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I can do this myself. So I went to Goodwill and found a big old antique dresser for like $40. And my intent was always to paint it teal and, you know, do something fun with it. And it's been sitting there ever since, not painted at all. And last night, when I was trying to problem solve a recent influx of patterns that I acquired, you know, problem solve the storage of it, instead of figuring out where to put them, I painted this dresser. But then I realized, oh, well, I bet you these patterns will fit in one of the drawers. So I displaced everything from the drawer and put all the patterns, but I was able to organize them chronologically, all in one place. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, if you can upcycle your furniture, that's a gift and an art. I wish I had the patience to do it. I just don't.
It looks like it was probably a dresser that had a mirror on the back because it's got a couple holes in the top of it.
Right.
So that's where the mirror probably stuck in.
That's awesome. All right, I'm trying to, before we're gonna just wait a few more minutes to get started, just because I said 10:45. Mary, Patterson's on the phone, Orpha is on the phone. Who else is on the phone? And is that, can't remember the phone number. Mary, Orpha.
I believe it's Darren.
It's who?
I think it's Darren.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I still couldn't hear that.
Darren. D-R-A-L-Y-N.
Dorlin.
Can you type it? I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you.
It's Dorlin. Dibble. D-I-B-B-L.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear.
I also have a list that I can share with you, and we can cross-reference each other.
Okay, and then also spouses and partners who are on the same Zoom. I only have whichever one logged in.
Okay. And Sarah and Christy just got here. So I'm gonna read the list that I have so far, and if I miss your name, will you holler and scream? I have Barb and Roger Livedall. I have Diane Uzelac. I have Emily. I have Mary Johnson. I have Carl. I have Emma and Josh Dorstead. I have Kathy Seabright. I have Reba and Linda and Michelle. I have Myra. I have Paul Wharton. I have Shannon. Is Erica, I'm guessing, probably?
Yep, she's with me.
Okay. Mary Patterson, Orpha, Dorlin, Sarah, and Christy. Did I miss anybody? All right. Oh, Clark's here and he's a confirmed member. So
Dorothy something, she said.
Clark and Rhonda. All right. And I will keep track of if anybody, well, I have to because I have to admit them. And Paul Harper just left the church and he's going to quickly drive home and join us as we meet. So, this is strange.
Wonderful. We open the meeting and we open it with prayer. Let us pray. Here we are, Lord. We are your church. Even though we're gathering today by laptop and computer and iPad in separate places, we are all together in you. The coronavirus has separated us from family, friends, fellow worshipers. It's changed how we go to school, how we go to work, how we go to play, and how we worship. But you have walked with us as we have forged new relationships, new ways to do daily life, and new ways to worship and be church. You continue to call us to be your light, your hands, your feet in the world. Assure us this day of your presence. Give us eyes and ears to hear your urging. Give us new visions for ministry. We are thankful this day for your presence. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, approval of the agenda on page 2. Does everybody have that, or how are we going to do this? Does anybody have any change to the agenda, any addition or any movement of the agenda? Hearing none. Let's look at, oh, just a minute. Do we have one? Oh. Approval of the 2020 annual meeting minutes on pages 3 to 5. I know that some of you have had a chance to look at them. I don't think we want to read through them, do we? Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Barb,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we could change, because I noticed they have Solveig listed as a non-member, and I don't, even though she's a non-confirmed member, she's not a non-member.
That's true.
Is there a way that that could be corrected to say she's a non-voting member?
I don't know. I don't know why not.
Yes, because she's a baptized member.
Yeah, I mean, she's a baptized, that'd be better to put it that way, I think, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that works.
Yep. Where are you seeing that, Diane? I'm trying to.
On page 5,
Oh, on the list.
on the list of attendees.
Okay, good, good.
And I would just hate to leave a sour feeling in someone's mouth that they were listed as a non-member when I believe she was baptized into our congregation.
Yep, yep,
Cool.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
Thanks, Diane. Any other additions or corrections? Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
I move that
So
we
moved.
accept the minutes as corrected, or second.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so we have dealt with the minutes. And
Thanks, Diane.
yeah. And then we're down to celebrating what God has done, which has been absolutely a miracle from my point of view. And I don't know now the introductions, how we're going to go about that. I heard an idea or something.
Well, here, I'm gonna replace Barb with random members of your council, and
Perfect.
they will smile and wave.
Good. That's terrific.
If they have their camera on. Shannon's taking minutes right now, and she has served as our secretary, and I would just like to say that she does a fabulous job taking minutes. Let's see, then we have Myra, who's been serving on our council, and, see, there she is, smiling and waving.
Where? You see her?
Do you see her?
No.
See you.
Okay.
Can all do, Rhonda?
We may have to speak as you call upon us to be pinned to the
Say
screen.
something in order to get,
Hi, this is Myra.
there we go.
Good.
And then I'm gonna scroll over and we have Sarah.
Hi.
Hi, Tara.
Sarah's been serving on the council all year. Next we have Miss Kathy. Miss Kathy is, say hello.
Hi. Hello.
See, if you were here in person, we would be making you dance up in the front of the room. Let's see, who else is here from council? We have Paul, like I said, will be joining us. Barb has been, where's Michelle? Michelle, can you speak? There you are.
Hi, good morning.
And Ray is having trouble getting in. She doesn't have the link. Michelle, can you send her the link?
I'm on it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
He
you.
just,
And don't forget Paul Wharton.
Yes, there, I'm scrolling through my little top thing and I'm like trying to see everyone. And where is Paul? Paul, can you speak to us?
Good morning, everyone.
hi, Paul.
There he is. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be so glad when we can do this in person. Cause I just think it gets, let's see, where's Paul?
Has Paul Harper been able to connect yet?
Not yet. He's not in our room yet, but I'm watching and going to let anybody in who comes in. So since we took, just to let you know, Emma has joined us and Antone, I believe, has joined us and John Hankey has joined us. We're just trying to keep track of who's here. So those are your council members. And I just would like to publicly thank them. This has not been the year that any council member signed up for. And so, although nobody had to buy treats, so that was, and Ray is now coming into the room. So Ray has been serving as the treasurer this year, so she has been doing a lot of good work, and we'll let her get in. Yes, it's been an interesting year to be on the council of a church, but they have faithfully served and met and been my partners in this kind of lonesome time. So just when you get a chance and you see them or you talk to them, make sure that you thank them as well. Okay. This is the part where I usually name some things and then we talk about the highlights from the past year. If you read my annual report, hopefully the song running through your head was Barry Manilow. That was what was running through my head when I picked my graphic. Looks like we made it. So that was kind of, I think that was kind of the theme for everybody at the end of 2020. We just, we did a lot and we limped a lot and we stumbled and we fell, but we picked ourselves back up again and we did a lot of good things that we never knew we would be able to do, or millennials didn't get the reference. We did a lot of things that none of us thought that we would ever have to do. But I just want to bring your attention to a few of them, and then I will open it up, as I usually do, for anybody who would like to toss out something that was a highlight this year. Obviously, we learned how to Zoom. And for those of you who didn't know what Zoom was before the pandemic, don't worry. I had used it once, and it wasn't in my vernacular either. And I think we learned how to do it well. I remember some mornings early where I was on the phone with people and we were trying to get it. Reva and I spent the morning trying to get her hooked up, and now Reva's an expert Zoomer. So we all learned to Zoom, and that was a really big hurdle for some. And so I'm really just grateful that you guys were able to hang in and get through that with us. We expanded our technology, and music evolution has been something that we should be very proud of. I will admit to being incredibly panicked that first week, and Kent jumped right in, beyond his job description, and he and I punted and started recording some tunes on his synthesizer at home and me in my garage, and we went from, single tracks recording on top of each other, and then we invited in some of our musicians at a later time. Eventually we were able to come back, and Kent and I came back in person, and today we just have such wonderful music. I would challenge any church around with the fact that we have some of the best music that you can find on a Sunday morning. And so I'm very appreciative of the partnerships that I have with Tom and Paul and Kent and some of the other people that have helped us out. We've had book studies and adult ed that, I wasn't sure how that would work, but we had a couple book studies this summer that were just delightful, and we couldn't believe we were sitting around talking about some of these topics, and it was really good. And I'm looking forward to going back to where I wanted to start in the summer, and I believe in February we're going to start with Rachel Held Evans Inspired. So, we were able to adjust to some of that. We did a week-long day camp online, and I just, I can't speak highly enough of the churches in South Minneapolis that helped put that together. Sunday school is happening every week at 9:30. There's between 5 and 14 kids from Springhouse that are meeting every week for Sunday school, and really we have a team of adults that are just hitting home runs with that. So we're just really happy and pleased with that. There was a lot of justice work. There was marching, there was volunteering, there was donating in the wake of George Floyd's murder. There was a lot of things that people stepped up to, and a lot of good things came forward, conversations and actions, and we really look forward to how that has changed us and how it's going to continue to change us. And then, we ended the year with a virtual Christmas pageant, which I just have to say was absolutely delightful and marvelous, and some of the feedback from the other congregations were that they liked that even better than in person. Even though I'm looking very much forward to doing it in person again next year. It was just really nice to have people step up and help out. It ended up being just really wonderful. And so those are just some of the things that I listed in my annual report. I would like to allow anybody who would like to, as we usually do, to lift up something from this year that is a place where you really saw God interacting and working in and through us in this space. So I would invite anybody who would like to speak to do that.
I was thankful for you and Kent again putting on your recording artist hats and collaborating with Lindale to still put on a form of hold an evening prayer during Advent, because that is one of my all-time favorite music and prayer experiences since diving into the Lutheran world, if you will. And I didn't know if or how it could happen, and it was very meaningful for me to sit in my basement and belt it out on mute along with the music that you had put together.
Yes, that was a highlight for us too. I thought it was a very meaningful time of prayer and just centering for everybody that was there. Which we will also be doing during Lent.
And I found that meaningful too. I'm so glad we were able to do it. And I also saw that there's coming up, there's a Holden evening prayer around the world coming up, and I don't know if it's too late to do something related to that or not, but,
I did see that. I have to look further into it because I hadn't seen it until I saw you post it. But I will look into it.
it is so nice to have the coffee hour and just be able to talk with people over Zoom and catch up a bit. I look forward to being in person together, and it was nice to have the service at Minneapolis Park.
Oh, yeah.
See people.
That's right.
And I like it that we see some of the kids
I
today.
know. I see those Jarstead kids.
Oh, God,
They
I can't
make
see
me
any.
happy. How are you? Are you good? Yeah? What's shaking?
Is it John Yankee? There they are.
Oh. What else? Anything?
I never thought I'd thank God for technology,
Right.
but not only thank God for the technology, but for the creativity and vision and just plain grit and perseverance that has made it possible for us all to, for most of us, most of the time, to find it as a way to get together, not only in worship, but with our brothers and sisters and some of the things that, as you pointed out, Rhonda, seeing people from distance that we would not be able to see otherwise. So there are some pluses. You know, we've watched Carl and Emma from Madison and, well, go on. I don't want to go on. I'll miss someone, but.
Yes, absolutely. Technology has been such a gift.
I wonder now too, with people getting vaccines, once the worship group or worship team gets vaccinated and is kind of cleared the 2 weeks after the last shot, it'll be interesting to start talking about when we can get people to meet again, or at least vaccinated people to meet again.
Yeah, we've had some conversations at Springhouse, and you know, we just made it clear that our that you know, we did not anticipate in person in the building worship until fall. We anticipate some outdoor things this summer. If things move faster, fantastic, yay! We can move that ahead. But you know, just to be on
I just want to extend a note of gratitude to all the teachers out there of our young children. And I know that some of us have teachers in our families and some of us have kids that are in the learning process, just how dedicated they have been to provide an opportunity for our children to learn under very difficult circumstances, and the things they've had to go through as teachers to first keep their livelihoods, but also try to live out their calling, which I know has been very difficult. And prayers for teachers also as we figure out how we move forward to keep them safe and feel confident that they are being supported by these institutions, because we can't, that's one of my biggest fears about COVID is we're losing a lot of young minds in this process. So, but thanks to the teachers for all that they do.
She's there, but she must have her.
Scott Reston is here. We're going to count him as present. I see you, Scott. All right. Yay 2020. You know, it was tough, but we all learned a lot, and we just really did experience a lot of wonderful things. There was, you know, everybody stepped up. Everybody did what needed to be done. There was a lot of cooperation and partnership, and so I am extremely grateful. We are extremely grateful, and I am looking forward to a year that starts away from each other, but hopefully will end at least in person. So, and now I will turn it back over to. Am I going to turn it back over to you, Barb, or am I going to turn it over to Ray?
Well, I would just simply point out that there are ministry reports on pages 6 through 14 of the annual meeting booklet, so people can look through them.
And read them at your leisure.
Right, and they're pretty interesting. I mean, you know, it's Minneapolis Synod and youth ministry, children's ministry, Springhouse Library, Office Administrator's report, Pastor Rhonda's report, and my letter to the congregation. So there's some wonderful reading there. And then I guess we could turn it over to Ray.
Ray.
Are you here, Ray?
I am here. My camera is extremely finicky. So when I turn it on, what happens is it will go for like a minute, and then it will just freeze, and it looks like that's what's happened. So you're all just going to have to look at my non-moving face and trust that I'm at my computer. We're going to start on page 16, which is the Salem financial report. Does everyone have their packet? Does anyone, let me do this. Does anyone not have the packet?
It is in the chat.
It is in the chat. Okay. So I'm going to give everyone just a second to either open it up with their computer, or because I'm not going to even if I individually read the numbers, I don't know that would be meaningful. So let me. So I would. This is a portion of the meeting where looking at the paper will be helpful. Let me just start with overall. Overall, we did pretty darn good this year. And I am going to attribute that. If you want to look at the bottom line, we were budgeted to hopefully end up $947 ahead. We ended up $17,000 ahead. So that is pretty, I mean, for those of you who've been following along at home with Salem's financial situation, this has been a very long time coming. And it's nothing short of miraculous that it happened this year. And I'm going to go into why it happened or how it happened, because it was a lot of different things. First, there you go. The first thing is we had a really good December as far as giving. Giving was a little low for most of the year, and then at the very end of the year, December was extraordinary and brought us almost up to our pledged amount. So there was that. Secondly, some of our expenses ended up being lower. You can see here that our expenses were projected to be $158,000, and they were $145,000. A large part of that was musicians not playing as much, and then just sort of operating expenses in some line items being a little bit lower. One place that you're going to notice that it was higher, if you look at office and admin, 100% of that overage is postage. As you might imagine, we mailed a lot more stuff than we usually do, and that is going to continue for 2021. So that is just a consequence of the pandemic. In addition, another reason that our staff expenses are showing as a little lower is that we got a PPP loan mid-year. And that loan was for $10,000, and we used $6,000 of it. It's applied to this year's payroll expenses. So that is part of the I guess, what is it, $15,000 that we were under payroll-wise. That is, so that's that. So some of that staff expenses, about $6,000 of that, I'm trying to think of how to say this. So it says here that we spent $81,000. In actuality, we've spent more like $87,000 because $6,000 of that, we use some of our PPP loans to pay payroll. So I'm going to just open it to questions because I'm really not sure what else I should say here. Does anyone, I'm going to look in the chat. Are people putting questions in the chat? Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
So how come the money that we received from the PPP doesn't show up in the income portion? Why is it a hidden thing on the expenses?
That was Lori's choice. I don't really know why it isn't on the income portion, because I would think we would have put it maybe in other income. Because really, I would, yeah, and I'm just gonna have to, we went round and round and really, if you look at, if it's in our balances, for the balance sheet, but it is not, yeah, we didn't put it in the income statement. And I got to put it in income, so maybe that's something I'll check out with Lori as something, if we should do that.
It's not reflected in the balance of 4247 doesn't look like it appears in anything for the budget for 2021 either.
That's correct.
No, and that's actually, we can discuss that, but that actually is, and Michelle can kind of weigh in on this. That should not be in the budget. That should be in the balance sheet, but doesn't have a place in the budget for 2021.
Okay.
And it will be, and it is, you can see it on in the beginning balance sheet here. That's kind of the, my question, I will talk to Lori though. We did go round and round about where it should be in the budget for 2021, and I'll get to that. For 2020, where we landed is, it's not in income because it's also not in expenses, right? What happened is we just reduced the expense line of the staff expenses. So So the other way to reflect it would be to put the $6,000 on income and then also put the $6,000 on staff expenses. Either way we do it, we still end up $17,000 ahead. Yeah, and there is, and I kicked this decision over to people who have, more accounting knowledge than me. So, and it was not cut and dry with them either. So we could go the other way too and add the $6,000 to both the expense and the income.
So Ray?
Yes.
I think you should address the issue about whether that PPP loan needs to be paid back. People
Yes.
don't, and we know that.
Yes, so it does not. It is, I already have the application in for the forgiveness. The conditions on which, we met all the conditions for forgiveness. The first is that we didn't lay anybody off, which we did not. And the second is that we were closed, which we were. We had to spend all of the money on, there's a list of things that we had to spend out. The main thing is at least 60% of it had to go to salary. 100% of it went to salary. So that's we have absolutely no issues there. So.
Can I jump in real quick for just a second?
Yeah.
I just wanted to acknowledge that the council at the beginning, when PPP first was a thing, talked about it and decided that we did not need it as Salem, that we felt we should leave that for, businesses and churches that were really in dire straits. As time went by and as we started to talk more about Springhouse, all three congregations ended up asking for a PPP loan because we weren't sure exactly how that was going to end up because obviously we lost all of our rental income, all of those sorts of things we didn't know. And so all three congregations did take out that PPP loan for salaries for that period of time that we were able to, did end up spending it. I know that we ended up spending 100% on salary. So I just wanted to let everybody know how we ended up in that place for asking for it in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. There's also a third, I'll just let in, because you guys are probably a lot of you watching this, there is a fourth round of PPP loans. We are not eligible. The criteria for that loan is that we experienced at least a 25% reduction in income during the like time horizon, and we have not. You can see from our offerings, we less than 1% reduction in income, and then even Springhouse didn't have a 25% reduction in income because the majority of our income still comes from the three congregations contributions, and I'm sure Diane can kind of speak to that. Even though almost all of our rental income was reduced, the income from part of Springhouse's income is our share contribution, and so Springhouse also did not experience a 25% reduction. Okay, so that's 2020. Any more questions about 2020? Okay, fantastic.
I think we need to accept this report. So
well, let me go over 2020. Or do we do 2021 first or no?
Now we do Diane. I think Diane.
You need to accept the report before you move on.
Right.
Okay, so I don't go over the budget for this year yet?
No.
After the 2020 is accepted, then you can roll into the 2021 budget.
Great. Okay.
So I'm open to hearing a motion to accept the 2020 report.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The 2020 report has been accepted. Now we can move on.
Okay. 2021. We we are projecting that giving will be about the same, and that's based on pledges. We are projecting staff expenses. We gave everyone a 1% raise. Springhouse, all the shared staff, or the shared expenses, sorry. You'll notice that this is a significant increase over last year. The primary, Diane will talk about this during the budget or during the Springhouse budget presentation, but the primary reason for this is that we are not projecting any income with the exception of caterer for 2021 for Springhouse. And additionally, there is a line item to start contributing to capital expenses. For those of you who've been around Springhouse this year, you know we had to replace the boiler, and there were some significant building expenses in addition to that this year. And so it is time to start planning for these type of expenses. So that's so $53,000 is our commitment to Springhouse this year. Additionally, we did bump up postage a little bit. Worship supplies, I think we cut, but we also, from last year's budget, but we also are hoping that there will be worship at some point this year, and we will be spending on that. Synod support, we increased by $100, and pretty much everything else stayed the same. And that brings us to $161,818, which means that we're going to be $3,000 in the hole this year. However, we still have PPP money from that account that will be applied to yes, office is the same, Mary, and that will be applied to staff expenses. So we don't actually anticipate having a deficit this year. However, I do want to say that there will not be PPP money in 2022, I hope, and this means that it's very likely that we will be in an actual deficit situation in 2022, which means we need to grow. That's what it means. We need to grow, and I think everyone probably on this call is well aware of that.
And a little more color commentary from the Springhouse perspective and how that factors into this 2021 number. Like Ray said, our share goes up a bit, and while we've benefited from being able to cut back on certain expenses at Salem, and we got the PPP loan this past year, and we've had very generous giving, what you didn't see increase to reflect what was going on with Springhouse in 2020 was what we were paying to Springhouse to Salem. So Springhouse did not put a special assessment on the congregations. However, knowing that our income would be limited for 2021, we have to make up for that somewhere. So that can make it feel a little bit jarring to look at the P&L from last year and how we turned out to what we are budgeting for this year.
Yep. Okay,
So our bank
can we
account looks pretty good,
add a line of income for PPE? Yes, okay, so Lori does not want to do that, Mary, I'm sorry. It is not actually income for 2020. It is really what it is a minus on, it gets applied against staff expenses. Sure, I can add a footnote, that's fine. I think a footnote is, because I'm with you, Mary. I just feel like, I know we're not going to end up $3,000 under. I hate that that's here. I hate that I'm looking at a negative number when I know we won't be negative. So yes, I would agree. I think that accepting this with an amended footnote, noting that we have, $4,000 will be applied to staff expenses, and we don't, something along that line. I think that would be good.
I think that's.
Our bank accounts will be okay, but just remember that if we were to move forward with this budget year after year after year,
Right.
we won't have PPP
Right.
money in our bank account to cover that. So it really will depend on how does our giving look and how do our spring house expenses look, because as many of you are familiar with over the years, so many of you have contributed to creative ways on how to make sure that we scale back our expenses to just what we need at Salem.
I think the idea was always to put a footnote, because I think Lori, for accounting purposes, didn't want to be income because technically it had to be used in 2020, which we did, but it just didn't get out of that account. So
Yep.
It's really already spent. It's only for staff, and for accounting purposes, it's not income. But she also makes the point that Michelle makes, and that I put in the chat, is that if it's a little bit misleading to add it to income and say we have a balanced budget, because we don't really have a balanced budget,
No.
and that's okay, because part of the reason that the shares have gone up is because of the pandemic, and that our income has gone down in terms of Springhouse, so our shares had to go up. And so we are going to, this is, a deficit budget, and, but if we have a footnote so that we all know that it's really, we have enough that we're probably not going to come out $3,000 in the hole, but just so that we look at this and say, okay, it is a deficit budget, here's a footnote that says we're not going to come out negative. I think that was one of the points, and I can't explain the accounting piece, because that's her.
It made sense when she explained it to me, I will say, because the original draft, I put it in, and she came back and took it out, and then I called her about it, and when we discussed it, I hung up the phone going, yep, that's right, that's what we should do. So I just,
If I may speak?
yes, yeah.
Linda, maybe what we need to do, rather than do a footnote, is just put on the draft budget, put our balance in the accounts right at the bottom. Like even the endowment fund,
Yeah.
checking and savings, and the PP loan. Just list
Isn't
all
that a
those
part of-
right at the bottom.
Isn't that a part of the 2020 budget though? I mean, isn't the balance sheet is at the bottom of the thing we just went over?
Well, I agree, but when people look at the 21 budget, they won't remember what was on the 2020 balance sheet.
I think that's fine. I think we could just copy it over.
That should satisfy everybody that we know we have money in the accounts.
Yeah, and then it's accurate too, right? That's like here is our account balances, and you can see this money
Right.
that can only be used for salaries is in this account.
Yes.
I like that.
Thank you, Linda.
Good minds. Are we ready to approve this budget as corrected? I'm waiting for a motion.
So approved.
A
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so we have that budget, and want to thank Ray for your work on that, and also for the good comments that helped us get it clearer for everyone.
Yeah, thank you for the engagement.
That's wonderful.
We skipped over Diane.
The endowment. Oh no, we didn't skip. Diane should be next, isn't she? Or did we skip her?
Oh, I was supposed to be before the Salem budget.
Oh, sorry, Diane.
But you were on a roll, so I just figured,
Sorry.
I'm not sure how to turn this. I should know how to turn this.
Turn what? Oh, I see it sideways. Get some coffee if you want some. I'll bring the pot out here.
Where are my millennials that do everything in
You click on it and right
Try
click?
view, rotate, view. View.
See, that's, I think the,
Or that.
the place where millennials and Gen Xers will never come together is that Gen Xers love Office, and, and all of a sudden millennials like PDFs and all this stuff, and we're like,
And online documents.
yes, Google Docs and
Yeah. I tell my kids, I'm not editing anything in Google Docs. Just send it to me in Word and then I'll edit it.
that's funny. Okay, so now it is sideways. Thank you for that teaching moment, y'all.
Okay. Diane,
I don't know why I'm going through this here because I've got to present all of this at the Springhouse board meeting in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we just kind of, you know, I think every year we just say, here it is, take a look at it, but I think we have to approve it.
Well, it's already, you guys already approved it because the expense
That's
was
right.
approved as part of the Salem budget. That's why I don't understand why this is here.
Yeah, it's always just in there, and I think maybe it's a place if somebody had a question, but, she will be going through it at the Springhouse meeting.
is there anything that you'd like to highlight quickly, Diane, or not? We'll just wait.
Go down further, because what I would really like to point out is the stuff that compares budget 2019 to 20 to 21.
Okay, is that,
Okay, I'll just do it.
Could be the last page, I believe.
there we go.
Okay, just the last portion there. So probably the biggest thing is that, and you're looking at the balance sheet, so you're sort of seeing what we have in each account at the end of the year. And if you're looking at trends, and that's why I pulled this together, you can actually see where we're sitting at the end of 2020, 30 days ago. We have, if you look at the very last thing, our cash position in those three accounts is 45,000. Because that capital expense, the boiler, shows up as like on a balance sheet, as a non-cash asset, for lack of another term. So you can see what our trend has been with cash. Now, that all being said, our building use budget in 2020 was $34,000, and the impact of the pandemic had us ending the year with the actual rental income being almost $33,000 less. So we had $33,000 in income we did not receive, and yet we finished the year almost $1,900 ahead of where we should have ended up. Some of that was the fact we lost our youth worker partway through the year. Part of that was just a lot of belt tightening and stuff that didn't happen. We're only receiving half of what we were getting for rent from the caterer. That was a Springhouse board decision. But to end the year, $1,900 of the black, which does not include the $12,995 for the boiler, we did very well considering all of the unknown variables when we put this budget together back in November of 19. So we were very deliberate when we look at the 2021 budget. There is a line item in the 2021 budget that is for a total of, I don't have the right page here. I want to say it's $7,200 for the year, split between the three congregations, being very intentional about setting money aside to go directly into that money market fund which is where we're putting money for capital projects. And it's my understanding from emails from the treasurers is that if Salem's council hasn't voted on this, they're asking that those checks be written separately so they can be deposited directly into that account, not having to go through Springhouse's operational checking. So we're trying to rebuild what we need to maintain the building for large items for the future.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yep.
much, Diane.
Yep, thanks for highlighting things for us.
Yep. Those are the big things.
Thank you, excellent.
How about the endowment fund report on page 18? Anything we need to say or do there?
The endowment, it's fairly straightforward, but it is doing well. We had, the stock market is doing well, so our endowment is doing well. So we had some deposits, and then we also got a little income off of stock market.
Okay. Ray, did we lose you?
No, I think she was done.
Nope, that's all I had to say. Sorry.
Do we need to accept the endowment report? I suppose so.
Probably true.
Is there a motion to accept the endowment?
So
report?
moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so we have accepted the endowment report as well. I think we've done all of that. Now we're down to looking to what God will do.
We're gonna move, we talked a little bit about that in the other part. We weren't paying so much attention to the agenda. I think we need to move on to the committee and council nominations and elections, because we have about 17 minutes before Springhouse annual meeting.
Okay. Do we have, oh good, you've got that up. So you will notice that those standing for re-election to the council are Shannon, Kathy Seabright, and Michelle. And just as a point of, important to know that currently serving, Paul Harper, Sarah Cinderbrand, Maya Rustin, myself, Paul Wharton, and Ray Bazell. So it's the three council members that would be elected. And are there any nominations for council? From the floor, or from your computer, or whatever. Are there any nominations? And we'll do this 3 times. Are there any nominations? Someone move that nominations close?
I move that nominations close.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so, what would be really nice, I shouldn't prompt you, but maybe somebody could move that we pass a unanimous ballot, otherwise,
That we passed the unanimous ballot.
yes. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations, Shannon, Kathy, Michelle. I want to tell you, this council has been just a blessing. Hard workers, people who think. Those are things to be thankful for. Okay, committee nominations. We currently serving is Chris Nordine and Mary Patterson, and the person who would need to be elected to serve on that committee is Josh Jorsted. On the nominations committee, currently serving John Hanke, and to be elected for the future, Roger Livedall and Mary Johnson. And on the mission endowment committee, there are no one needs to be elected but the currently serving people are Anton Melton Muse, Jan Olson, and Paul Wharton. So, are there any additions? Well, I don't know, committee nominations, any nominations for committees? Any nominations for the 3 committees? Any nominations for the 3 committees? Someone move that the nominations cease?
I move nominations cease.
A second. Okay. And how do we want to vote on that?
I move we pass a unanimous ballot.
Hey. Second. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Well, congratulations to all of you, and in addition to congratulations, we are grateful for your willingness to continue to work, and who knows what 2021 will show us. We might, new challenges, we might make new, well, certainly we will. We'll learn new things. Thank you. Okay, Rhonda, where are we?
We couldn't go back since I just wanted to make sure we got that done. I'm just going to point out just a couple highlights that I have for everyone, and that would be one of the things that we're looking forward to is Lent. There will be at-home Lenten kits, either delivered to your doorstep or in the mail. So, I think Lent being a time of wilderness is appropriate, and so we're looking forward to Lent. We'll also have hold an evening prayer, prayer on the cross, as we usually do on Wednesday evenings during Lent. We are looking forward to being able to do some things in person as the weather gets nice and we are able, whether that is full worship outside someplace. I'm not sure about that because that's a lot of stuff to lug around. But there will be opportunities for us to gather, to start gathering as late spring or summer comes around. So I'm really looking forward to those sorts of things. And then I really am looking forward to gathering in person in our worship space, hopefully no later than fall. One of the things that, and I keep mentioning it so that our musicians don't forget, we're going to do jazz and wine night sometime when it's safe to gather, so that we can raise some funds for COVID relief, and because Scott and Clark and I are so lucky every week. We get to come here and we get to have this concert of these musicians who are just amazing. And I was sitting here one day and just thinking, gosh, it's not fair that I'm the only one that gets to do this. And so I think that I'm looking forward to doing that and letting them play outside of our worship context. I think that will be really fun. Mostly I'm just looking forward to seeing everyone, and I know that that's what everybody else is looking forward to seeing too. So I think 2021 will be good, and I'm looking forward to all the ways that we're connecting, and appreciate all of that. I am going to...
Diane has her hand up.
Yes, Diane.
Just one thing I'm also thinking ahead when you were talking about the jazz and wine type of thing.
Yes.
It's my understanding that the organ all the organ work has been completed up in the South Sanctuary.
Yep, almost all
And
of
I
it.
know for years, Paul Wharton has talked about having an opportunity, once that work was done, to sort of have a major celebration and dedication of that.
Yeah.
And that might be something to start with, and it's probably more of a Springhouse conversation.
Yeah.
But it would be just something to start getting everybody's hearing that.
Yes. I think it's a great idea. Because if you haven't heard it, it's beautiful.
Is the link you just put up, is that something for the Springhouse meeting?
That's what I'm... So
Okay.
What will happen is if you click that link, it's going to say, in order to go there, you must leave this meeting. So after we're done with our closing prayer,
just say thank you again to everyone for attending yet another Zoom call, and for everything that you individually have done to keep this community going, whatever form that took. There was a lot of uncertainty, and as a council, I think we tried to stay very positive and focus on what we can do, but what we could do was made possible by our whole community.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been a good year, actually. Strange, but good.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of Zoom meetings is when we all pray out loud together and it doesn't match up, because it really reminds me of the Holy Spirit. So I'm going to invite you all to unmute yourselves. I'm going to check out this question real quick.
Let's adjourn first. Did somebody make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All right, so we are adjourned.
And we are going to pray. Ready?
We're going to pray.
Here we go.
Gracious God, you have called your sons to ventures of which we cannot see the ending. Yet, as yet untrodden, through perils unknown, give us faith to go out with good courage, and knowing where we go, knowing that your hand is leading us, your love supporting us, in Jesus Christ.
Your love supporting us is Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. That's amazing. I love it.
You're great.
Thank you guys for coming. It is so good to always see your face. Always, it is so good to see your face. Ash Wednesday's in a few weeks. I hope that we will see you then. Until then, keep looking at the e-blasts, because there's information in there each and every week that is hopefully pertinent. So check it out, and we'll see you later, maybe at the Spring House Annual Meeting coming up in about 8 minutes.
So where